am Reet Shrestha.
And I'm Deepika Lamisane.
Welcome to Anamak the podcast.
Hey,
Maya,
how's
it's been a
it?
while, right?
Yes.
Life got busy,
Uh-huh.
internship made us question our sanity, and as we tried to navigate the landscape of hospital duties as freshly minted doctors, some things they got a bit delayed. And for the record, we have been jumping around like kids the entire evening because we're doing this after ages.
Yes. We are so happy right now.
Yes. We finally got a weekend in which Deepu and I were both unoccupied. We're spending time with each other after what feels like eons.
Yes.
And we're together in a room, ready to release episode 6 of our podcast.
Yay.
But before we begin, I just want to do a little extra catching up with my bestie. How has internship been treating you?
Internship has been treating me sometimes harshly, sometimes nicely, and sometimes I don't know what should I feel. It's been a mixed bag. I've been learning a lot. At the same time, there are times when I have been humiliated. Overall, it's a mixed bag. How has it been for you?
Well, for me, internship and life in general have been this weird mix of exciting and tiring these days. I am learning how to figure things out, and I think a lot of unexpected twists and turns in my lane of existence. They've kept me on edge, but life has been good. Touch wood. Also, this is for our listeners. There was a podcast episode we recorded a while back, but we
Yes.
decided against releasing it because of a few quote-unquote reasons. So we haven't been ignoring our brainchild altogether, have we, Deepu?
No. And we will release that sooner or
Yes,
later.
yes.
Yeah.
So as we were together at our regular schmegular place eating noodles, shoodles,
Yay!
as we decided to talk about something that we and in fact every student considers the dum ta na 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 episode of every exam season, Viva.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll name this episode Viva Diaries or something like that because boy oh boy do we have stories. Ever since you step into the world of medicine as a student, you are greeted by 4,986
Very specific.
Vivas every semester. And does it ever end, Deepu?
It feels like it will never end.
Exactly. You're a student, Vivas. You're an intern, Vivas.
Vivas, yes.
You're a resident,
Viva.
bigger Vivas. Scarier Vivas. Oh my god, the round Vivas. Terrifying. So I have quite a few stories I wish to share. I am sure Deepu does too. But before we start becoming storytellers, let's go by the standard protocol of our podcast and start with a brief history lesson. Would you like to share anything about the history and geography of Vivas, Deepu?
Yes. I would love to. I'm so excited to talk about Viva. It's weird, right? How excited we are to talk about something that we are terrified of.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think it is more to do with the company, though.
Yes.
I am in your company,
Yeah,
so
I am in your company. Yeah, okay. So, talking about the history of Viva, the term Viva, it is derived from a longer term that is Latin. It is Viva Vos. So the Vos or Voce, whatever it is, it literally means with the living voice. So we can get the gist of it. Viva Vos means that you have to articulate what you know. And rewinding back to ancient Greece and Rome, back in that day, oral debate were the bread and butter of education. And if you were a student, your ability to argue and reason verbally was the ultimate taste of your knowledge. And this tradition of ancient Greek and Rome did not stop there because fast forward to the medieval Europe, universities were making oral disputations the centerpiece of education, and students would publicly defend their ideas. It was a big deal. Now, here is where it gets interesting. The modern Viva Voce exams, as we know it, started at Oxford University, UK. Yup, Oxford was the birthplace of this practice, tied to the introduction of the doctoral thesis. And back then, and even now, a viva involved defending your work before a panel of experts. It's nerve wracking, but it's a tradition that spread to universities worldwide. And it's not just for academia, the Viva format became super important in professional fields, especially in medicine and surgery. Here, it's all about evaluating your clinical knowledge and decision making skills under pressure, literally life and death situations. And today, Viva boards exams are a hallmark of education. They are not just about what you know, but how you think on your feet, how you communicate, and how you handle being put on that spot. They have evolved over centuries but remain one of the most dynamic ways to test knowledge and skills. So, the next time you're preparing for a Viva, remember you are taking part in a tradition that's been around for centuries, from ancient philosophers to modern scholars. Pretty cool, right?
Right, how sanskari of all students.
Yes,
We're taking
yes.
part in tradition.
Yes.
And while we're on this topic, I think that Roman and Greek history was definitely significant, but here in the eastern part of our world as well, intellectual debates were not uncommon. In fact, they were a huge part of
Yes.
sharing experiences and expressing what people knew. One sage in particular, she comes to mind, and I've not read much about this, but Gargi. Have you heard her name? Yeah.
Yes, I have.
So she used to hold intellectual discourses with other sages of that era, and this was hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I suppose in 500 AD or something like that. Please forgive me if the number is wrong. So yeah, so just adding to it.
Thank you for adding that.
So I just wanted to share that
That is interesting.
all over the world, the concept of vivas, as we know it now, it has been a thing.
Yes, whether
Right?
it was called Viva or not,
Yes,
it
something
was
else
probably
perhaps.
there.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for adding up to it. And as we talk about the history of thousand years back, I want to take you on a time machine and come back to the present. And I want to ask you, Rit, do you have any such memories, funny, embarrassing, good, bad, anything that has left a mark on your brain regarding the Viva examinations that we've had?
Okay, so this one is very recent, and oh goodness, so embarrassing because it was such a brain rot, brain fart, deleted brain cell moment.
Today. Okay.
I had a presentation on calazion, which is basically something that happens when the oil glands in your eyelid get blocked and you have a pimple-like thingy in your eye. So here I am with my presentation that looks very aesthetically pleasing because I spent the last few hours I had decorating my slides instead of studying. So, okay. So did I have time? Yes. Did I spend that time procrastinating? Also, yes. So now I have shown a really pretty collection of slides on the screen. I haven't studied the theory at all, and the only thing I'm confident about is the patient's history. I have a few questions fired at me, I answer them, and towards the end, I get asked, so now tell me, what is the surgical procedure to treat a calazion called? Pretty basic, right? So...
But I still don't remember it.
No, because ophthalmology was 5,000 years ago.
Yes.
The answer is incision and curettage. But for some reason, top secret, the reason was that I hadn't studied at all. I could not remember the word incision. Like what? What? But I could remember curettage. So I said, are you ready for this?
Yes.
I said, the answer is dilatation and curettage. So for people who don't know, this is done inside the uterus. I blurted out a gynecological procedure as the treatment for an eye ailment in front of an ophthalmologist. I was aware of how moronic I sounded, but my words were out of my mouth and I couldn't take them back, so I just stared into the distance and asked for the ground to swallow me whole, because what the hell did I just do? It is something that still keeps me up at night, which reminds me of the time I recently forgot the definition of TIA during rounds, which reminds me of the time I could not recall that one classification of that one drug group in first year, which reminds me to stop thinking about my past Viva blunders and to ask you about any funny incidents that you would like to share, because I will look like a tomato if I keep thinking of all the embarrassing moments I've had. So please excuse me.
Thank you for sharing your experience. And if I was in your spot, I would have probably done the same things, and so many people would have done the same things, because we do not know the pressure of examinations and vivas, right? And even the things that we know, we cannot say it. We are silent.
Exactly.
We are literally silent, blank. We cannot say anything.
And you forget stuff.
Yeah.
Things that
It's like
you should know.
Yes, even the
Because-
basic things, you forget it.
Exactly, because you're running on 37 minutes of sleep and you're on your 7th cup of coffee for the day. So
Waiting for the next one.
exactly, and you find your sanity slipping away.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that
It's
happens.
hard. It's hard.
Uh-huh.
The pressure. It's really hard.
Yep.
Talking about my experience, funny one, embarrassing one, was not that much recent, but it was in the final year, pediatrics examination Viva, with an internal examiner who had asked me about what disease does Haemophilus influenza or bacteria causes, and I answered with influenza. And I know that sounds okay. Haemophilus influenza causes influenza. Of course you are right. but if you are a medical student or a doctor, you probably know that's a very, very big blunder, because influenza is a viral infection, and Haemophilus influenza, it is a bacterial organism. So you can just imagine the look of disappointment in her face as I said it, because even a first year medical student could answer that properly, which I did not. And I was in a final year final examination of final year. So that was pretty embarrassing. And 5 minutes after that Viva ended, I had another Viva, same in pediatrics, and it was and the examiner just asked me about signs of dehydration, which is a very basic question, and you need to know it to treat dehydration, which is a common condition. I could not say it. I was blank. I said 1 to 2 words, and after that I was blank, and the examiner just said, you can go now. And I think I was very disappointed that day with myself, with what have I studied. And I distinctly remember that pediatrics was the day, the night before that I had a pretty good sleep.
Okay.
And the night before all the other practicals, I just had 1 to 2 hours sleep. But preceding pediatrics, I had, I think, 5 to 6 hours of sleep, because I was done. I was done with exams, and the exams went badly. So I made a correlation that day. The more you sleep, the less you know in Viva, which I know is not true, but that was what happened that day. It was pretty weird.
Okay, thank you for sharing, but
Thank you.
at the same time, correlation does not equal causation. So, and while I do think your experience was valid, you are one of the most intelligent,
Oh, God.
hardworking
I
people
can't hear this.
I have ever had the privilege of knowing. So you should know that while it was half funny and half traumatic, the experience, it does not define you. You are wonderful at expressing what you know, and moments like these when you have brain farts and you are not able express what you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common among
Thank you.
all students.
Thank you for saying that.
And medicine, it is a line of work that demands a lot from us, right? So
It drains us.
yes,
actually.
and when you're drained, and there are moments when you forget your own name, perhaps.
You forget where you are. It
Exactly.
almost feels like you are in hell and being asked by the guard there, do you want to come in or you just want to go to heaven? You can't choose anything.
Yes, so it's fine. And I know how it feels to be embarrassed, but
Thank you for being so empathetic, and I want you to know that you are one of the most intelligent, kindest,
Oh, God.
and empathetic person that I know.
oh God.
Let's call it to that, because
Oh,
if we
God.
go on, we are going to say it throughout the podcast.
I am grateful for the compliment, but I cannot
Yes.
accept it because
You should accept it.
that is you.
That is you. We got
Okay.
this one. Okay,
So
any other moments that you want to share?
there are a lot of embarrassing moments, but I'm sure everyone has had a few moments in which they've experienced that feeling after a particularly splendid viva, from which they come out like force of nature. That feeling is kind of unmatched. When the examiner says stuff like excellent, very good, and okay, so if you answer this too, I'll give you bonus points. You feel like you're as bright as the morning, as soft as the rain, as smart as Einstein, as though Newton's your name. Sorry, it was here.
Love that song.
And my brain doesn't remember all the questions it answered correctly because we know how our minds work, right? We tend to remember traumatic moments and moments when we made the world cringe, apparently, but then we don't remember when we did something right.
Yes.
That is something that I personally feel like I need to work on. But I do remember feeling very happy after certain vivas. But that being said, in almost every viva that I've had, I've come out thinking, I wish I'd have been asked this, or I should have added this to my answer. That would have made it better. And sometimes it's something along the lines of, hey Ram, I should have slept last night. I am so drowsy, I could forget my own address. How on earth am I to recall something I studied 3 months ago?
1 year back.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that you would like to share?
Online Viva. The online Viva that we had.
COVID
God knows.
season.
Yes. God knows how many years back when we were all like hibernating in our homes. That was a pretty different experience, I think. And how do you feel about that? Do you think the virtual vivas were better or worse than the real life vivas?
I remember those vivas as being kind of chaotic because much was dependent on the internet situation.
Yes.
So, but I do think that in-person vivas are better because if the viva goes horribly wrong, then you can at least get out of that room, take a deep breath, go to the cafeteria, eat, and then sleep. If you're giving the viva from your own room, it's your room, you really cannot escape it. Where will you go? To the living room, to your parents' room, to the guest room? And then, but you have to come back to your room at some point, right? And also, if you're giving a viva in person, then you can actually gauge the examiner's reaction and figure out if what you've said is enough or not, if your answer is on par with their expectations or not. But in an online viva, the examiner's face, it gets stuck at weird at weird moments, and then you cannot read their expression. You cannot, you're just like, oh my god, what's happening? And it just feels like एकदमै unfamiliar territory. So maybe because I'm not used to that. So yeah. What about you? What do you think?
I respect your opinion, but I actually loved the online Viva session, and I wished all the medical school vivas were online. That doesn't mean that I wanted Kobe to last for 6 to 7 years. No. I just wanted the vivas to be online because, as you said, it heavily depended upon the internet. So I could blame everything on the internet. I could blame my lack of knowledge on the internet, saying I must have froze. The video must have frozen, or I could just leave the leave the meeting link or the Viva link that they have sent and said my internet was unstable. They could not do anything. They can't do. They would let me to redo the Viva again, and of course it was in my room, in our own room, so it was a controllable environment. I could feel calm there, and whenever I gave answer, I did not look at the examiner's face because now I don't know how am I being judged. I know that is quite bit scary. You don't know if what you are saying is right or wrong, but at the same time, if you don't look at the computer, you just look at the straight on camera and you don't look how the examiner is reacting, you can answer without being judged. Like no judgment there. You can just answer and then you can look at the examiner. So yeah, I love the online Viva session. It was less anxious for me, and I still remember my parents knocking the door and saying to wrap up the session, as they said, or a meeting that they said. It was an exam, mom and dad.
So cute, uncle, auntie.
To wrap it up so that I can have meal or lunch. Yeah, so it was one of a time experience, I
Yes,
think,
it
for
was
us.
quite an experience.
Yeah.
We won't get to relive it.
Hopefully.
We don't want another pandemic
Yeah, we don't.
universe. Okay. So yes.
Yeah.
So while we are on this topic,
Mm-hmm.
I do think that it's important to know that vivas, they can be very stressful, and while anxiety is something that cannot be deleted by using a button, sadly we don't have such a function in our body. Because of that, I think a lot of problems associated with vivas have to do with the fact that examiners sometimes tend to act a bit like jerks. I'm so sorry, but this is the only word I can think of at the moment. Because sometimes a viva, in fact, it is whatever you call it, it is a professional situation, right? You are in an environment where you need to express what you've learned, and in moments of doubt or when you're not able to recall something properly, and the examiner in front of you, he or she starts making personal attacks or treating you with disdain, then that is not very kind or professional. So I think examiners should be mindful of that as well. If a person does not know something, then it's not a free ticket to insult them, right?
Yes.
And correcting them is okay. Letting them know that this is basic stuff and they should know it is also okay. But you know the kind of situations that I'm talking about.
Yes.
Right?
The remarks that they make, it's mostly about the personal lives of the examinee.
We've seen it being done to other people and to every student who has a viva or a few hundred vivas coming up. If you're a medical student, then
take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, and we know it's easier said than done.
Yes.
But you got this. One exam, as cliche as it sounds, it does not define you.
It does not.
You can always learn, you can always grow, you can always become better, and
you can always increase your confidence prior to Viva by studying more, by looking at videos, so that you will get less anxious during the Vivas. And no matter how hard the questions get, if you know the basic stuffs, it's mostly it's better. It's better.
And Viva anxiety is very real because I experience it as well. There have been moments when I have not been able to say an answer that I knew was correct because I had 5,000 doubts in my mind and I was not able to get through them to blurt out that particular answer. Anxiety during exams, before exams,
It's
after
unavoidable.
exams. It's a real thing. But we also have an episode on anxiety.
Yeah,
if you would
and
like to watch it.
We have one anxiety and anxiety disorder as well. So you can listen to it, you can watch it, or you can take the help of other resources to learn more about it.
No advertisements here.
Yeah, no advertisements here.
And anyways, the only people who are going to watch this are like 14 of our friends.
Yeah, 14, yeah. And plus 2.
Plus 2, yes.
You
one,
and me.
Yes,
You
plus
and me.
2.
Yeah.
One would be your cousin, the other would be mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Hi, cousins.
Yes, and plus 4.
Plus how?
My parents, your parents.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, we racked up 20 views.
Yay. We should have a celebration.
We're famous.
Yay.
But at the same time, I love how we started this not with a desire to earn any sort of fame or yes, or to gain any kind of recognition.
Are we getting an award?
No. The thing is, it was not with a desire to gain recognition, but we really enjoy each other's company, and we can really talk to each other freely without any inhibitions, and we just wanted to share that with the world. So it's okay if we only have like 5 views.
Yeah, that's okay.
But we already have 20, so
yeah, so we're famous.
Yes, like so famous.
Yeah, I think I need to wear some sunglasses.
Yes, a hoodie as well.
Yes.
A mask.
Yes, and a hat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, to everyone who is listening to this podcast, especially if you are an examiner, we hope that you can be kinder, more empathetic, and also know that you were once in the place of the examinee. You were just like them. You had an examiner in front of you, asked you questions, and you might have wished even then that I wish the person asking me the question was a bit kinder, a bit more empathetic. If you guys could remember that and implement it as you conduct vivas in the future, that would be better for everyone.
Yes, I agree. And we're really sorry if this episode was not very well structured, because it was a last minute
very impromptu
decision.
Guys.
Yes, and I'm happy we're doing this.
Yes.
So thank you, Deepu.
Better done than perfect.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Reed.
Thank you to all our listeners.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye. See you again soon.
See you. Stay warm, stay hydrated.